This is the Hot Take Hockey Podcast with your hosts, Lucas and John Viveiros.
William Karlsson's adopted a new role of like the defensive style and playing third line. And I mean, Vegas has spread it out. I mean, exactly what I've talked about in the playoffs. They have Eichel and Marchessault with Barbashev. Then I believe right now they have Stone and Stevenson. And then they have Karlsson and Riley Smith.
Yep.
So it's like, then they just fill in the pieces around. So they have Barbashev on one line. They have Waugh on one line. And then they mix it around. I mean, to the point where Kessel's been a healthy scratch for, I don't know how many games now. It's been 4 or 5, I think. Or like
I kind of forgot he was on the team, John. I haven't seen him in forever. You're right.
So he's been scratched for the last handful of games, to the point where that speaks depth, folks. That speaks depth when, like, again, Phil Kessel's way past the prime days of Phil the Thrill, but it's like having a guy that has 2 cups, has scored some big goals in the playoffs, just sitting on the sidelines. Like, that's how you know you have a freaking deep team.
Yeah. And it's because they have the identity fourth line too, where like he wouldn't fit in with that with Luger, Colasar, and I think it's Carrier. Carrier. So the way Vegas has constructed their lineup, but this is not just a Bruce Cassidy thing. This has been pretty much from day one, right? Where they've had, and you look at Seattle, it's the same sort of thing. When with these expansion teams, we've talked about it before, they get so many good players, not high elite most of the time, but just solid middle 6 players. And then you sprinkle in the Jack Eichel trade and the Mark Stone. And this is what you get, right? Like
And Lucas, it becomes that conversation of like their third line is as good as any second line in the league. And then like their fourth line, specifically with Seattle, we talked about it so many times, like Seattle's fourth line was as good as any third line in the league, right? Mm-hmm. When you have a guy like Brandon Tanev, like that's the examples. Obviously Vegas a little bit differently structured, but it's like all 3 lines, Cassidy is comfortable rolling against any different matchup. I mean, he's confident in Eichel in any matchup. He's confident. And I mean, talk about heist job. The fact that George McPhee got Chandler Stevenson for a 5th round pick from Washington is one of the biggest heists I've ever seen in my life. And it probably goes right there with the Montour for like a 4th or 5th round pick. So, I mean, there's some players right now that were just, there was some heist going on.
Gosh.
So, I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. Like the fact that you have 3 duos like that on all 3 lines, Eichel, Marchessault, Stone, Stevenson, and Karlsson, Riley Smith. I mean, that's guys. Lucas, all year I've been preaching the freaking HBK line recipe. When you have 3 lines rolling like that in the playoffs, i.e. Florida, i.e. Vegas, the 2 teams that are like in a good spot to make the cup final right now,